Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to part 3 of the video. I just wanted to touch on how do we go from here, how if you've created a project, or if you created some basic projects by understanding what frames and what auto layout and things like that are, how do you go from there? So I just wanted us to create like a mood board. And mood boards are like palettes of inspiration where you get inspirations from. So I'm going to be creating a mood board right now. But first of all, going to Dribble. And then when we come to Dribble, let's search for something mobile. We're just going to do a 3 or 2 page, just something basic before we go into the actual design. So we're going to take this, going to copy it, and we'll come back here and paste it. When we're done with that, we'll look for another mood board. It takes so much time to find inspiration sometimes, so you have to carefully scout for what's right in your design. So, for example, I think this should work. Let's get this. I think this and that should work because of time. I don't want us to create like a stressful design where it would take a lot more time to put that out there. And because I'm also going to be showing another design, which I worked on the wireframe earlier on. So this is going to be a watch app. So we're going to be doing this, and that's why I just wanted us to quickly work on it. Let's just get started with this. This is going to be the more basic. We're going to be creating this button. So the text, we're going to make it, let's say 14, and we'll be making it like button, and the font will be circular, and we would auto layout this. So now we'll name this button as well, and we would create our first frame. So our first frame would be mobile phone, and we will choose iPhone 11 Pro X because that's relatively the size of the mobile phone I use. So there's this app called Mirror, which is called the Figma Mirror, and that's what I use to mirror my files to, what I have here. So the first thing you do is you add grids, but obviously there are a lot of times where grids are not useful, but most of the times it's really, really useful, right? So, and grids are relative. So I'll first of all add a grid, but I'll make it columns, right? But what I want to do is, because of the way this is laid out, I want it to be 3-column grid. So I want it to be divided by 3. And then, I'll leave the color as it is, and the opacity of the color, I want the type to be stretched so that whenever they stretch it, they would be able to get the same effect. So for example, if we're using the mobile size, we would be able to get the same effects, right? So the width should be auto, and the margin should be somewhere around 20 or so. Or let's say, if we look at this, I think the margin, what's the margin around this? It's not even up to that. I don't know. I don't think this has a little bit of grid, but if we leave ours to 20, and then the gutter, we're going to leave it to 20. So gutter are the space in between here, right? So once we have that, we could so we need to add another type of grid, which will be the rows. So once we do that, we'll click on add button, go to the row. And then what we're going to make the count is, obviously it depends on how long you want your page to be. Some pages are used to be long, and in mobile, you just click the content and make it scrollable, right? So let's say we want to make it like 100, for example, and then instead of stretch, we'll take it to the top, and we'll say it should start from the top. So the height, we're going to make it 16, so that it's a little bit taller. I don't want it to be very, very short. We're going to have the gutter, we're going to leave it to 20, or if we want, we could say we wanted 10. So obviously it's our choice. So once we're done with that, we'll start. Once we have the button here, we're going to have our brand color. So I want us to pick between this color and then mix it with a little bit of this. So first of all, what we're going to do is pick out what color this is. So we're going to create a rectangle. The reason why I don't want to do a research on what color to use is because obviously this has already been done and they see that this color is going to fit. If I was to go through that whole process, it would take a lot more time. So that's why I want to do this like that. So what we're going to do is once we take this, I'll use the eyedropper tool, which is I, and then pick this color, right? And then duplicate the same color, pick the dark color that is here. Obviously it's black. Oh, I didn't know it's black. Obviously, can we try this? Oh, this is black as well. Wow. So once we have that, we could say, like, for example, now here's what color styles comes in. So color styles are what helps you with styling your colors, if that makes sense. So you could create like a color style for your brand. So let's say an example, I want to, how do I say this? Let's say, for example, I want to have a large amount of file. You don't want to always go into your file and be doing the eyedropper thing, right? So you select the color and then you click on this square dot, click on plus. We could say this black. It will show up in our color style. We could select the other one, click on the thingy up there, click on plus, and we'll add this brand green. So now it will have that imputed within its design. So if we go to the background here and say, let's say for example, we click on the fill and we say we want it to the brand green, ignore the whole grid thing. So if you want to ignore the grid, you go to your Figma menu and then view, and you would say layout grids. It will hide the layout grid, right? But obviously we don't want to do that right now. We'll just go back to our view, show layout grids, or Shift G to get the layouts grid back. So if we bring this in, for example, and now we would say that, okay, the color, this is the color for the text. We'll just click on the menu, add one, and say white. It's quite obvious. And now we'll go to the fill, we'll bring in our black color, right? So if you look at this now, let's make the font 16 instead of the 12 we had before. So we can see that this is not fitting the grid system. We could increase that a little bit and then make sure that our text is in between that. You'll see that what we have here is 42, which is perfect, and that is divisible by 2, which is normally the hack for, I think I tweeted this sometimes ago, the hack for spacing is just dividing your stuffs by 2. So what we're going to do is just expand our size, the size of our button here, and then I think we need to give it a lot more. There's a lot more padding within this work, right? So we'll bring this down a little bit. 52. I think 52 is right where it's at. We'll take this down and we'll give it a curve border radius. We'll give it like 10. The 10 should be all right. We would take a copy of this, turn it to get started. All right, for example, duplicate this. Then we'll duplicate this to and change it from get started to already have a count. Then what we're going to do is once we select this, we'll just change the color to somewhere around gray to match what we have there, because obviously we just want them to know that this login is clickable. And once we have that, we'll change the size to 12 and we'll take it to the middle. Then obviously, because we have the grids, it's quite positioning it the right way we want it to. So once we have that, we'll then duplicate this to the top and then change the color, change the full color to black and say easy way to save your money. So once we have that, we'll take this to like 32, let's say 28, for example. Then we'll change this from bold to black because we want it so bold, or black, sorry. We want it bold, then we want the text alignment to be center. We would bring it to the middle. So the next thing to do is bring in this avatar thingy. We'll just create a cycle by pressing O on our keyboard and then creating the first cycle, putting it in the middle. So once we have that, we'll reduce the cycle here. So we'll take this down a little bit, bring this up here, that one there. So with this, we didn't really calculate it where the grids are. We just position it based on what we think is right? So now the next thing we need to do is right click, go to our plugins, content reel, just to fill this in with pictures, right? Once the content reel is loaded, we'll go to the images section. We'll choose the avatar for this. Once we select it, it should change the avatar with what we want. We'll choose one male, one female, one male, last one would be female. So now we kind of like have what we have here. And to check in with what that is, we'll just go to our prototype settings, create a float point for this first one, choose our prototype settings. We want the device to be iPhone X, and we would just preview this prototype that we already have. So this is how the prototype looks. Oh, we need to increase the opacity for this. So we're going to make this 100, or a black that we initially have, not a blue. You can see our money here, or whatever that is. So the next screen we would need to create is, we'll duplicate this, by the way, change the background from the green to white, empty the screen by selecting everything and deleting it. So the next thing we need to do, creating this avatar here, the menu, the search, and yeah, that's it. So we'll create a circle for the avatar. This is a perfect cycle, 42, 42. After we've created the avatar, we'll bring in, from our plugins, we'll bring in further icons. And the reason why I use further icons a lot of time is because it's just so sleek and simple, right? So once we have our further icons, we'll just search. We'll search for search, and then we'll frame the selection and create auto layout for that. And we would have 14 to, or 10 pixels. 10 pixels, 10 by 10 pixels. We'll bring it to this position. Oh, it's not in the file. We'll bring it inside the file to this position. On the side, we would have another one, but this would be 4 by 4 pixels. And this one would be just this menu. Once we have that, we'll just bring it in and delete the search icon. So once we have that, we would create our border radius to be like 42 as well. And we'd have a stroke for this where it's a little bit gray. All right. So, and the stroke would have to be 2 or 3 because that's the whole design flow. We'll copy the same color for the stroke and fill it in with that. So that we know that we have something consistent, right? Obviously, let's reduce the size of this from 24 to somewhere around 20. From 24 to somewhere around 18. And then we'll reduce that to 18 as well. And yeah, we'll decrease the stroke from 3 to 2. I don't even know how I added 3. Well, obviously 3 is a weird number. We'll bring this here. We'll select the fill the whole design with the eye picker. And we would select this one and fill it in with this. That is the color of the brand. Then we'll increase the border radius to somewhere around 42 as well, so that it fills the whole size, because this one is 42, so this should fill that 42 as well. If we go to our design board, so as you can see, we already have this layout coming out well. Now the next thing we're going to do is add the balance. Dollars 3 4. Then we'll take that to the middle. bring it to the top and add the total balance, and we'll decrease the size from 28 to somewhere around 18, and then we'll change it back to book. We'll remove this and bring in the hash color we have here, or a little bit harsher color. Then we'll take it down here. So now the next thing we're going to do is, once we have this, we'll create this debit card that we have here, but I want it to be animated. So once someone clicks on the other debit card, it takes them to another page where it's small screen, and then once someone taps on this debit card, it brings them here. Next thing we need to do is create a frame. So I don't like using rectangles for this. I like using frames. So once I have a frame here, that makes sense, I'll bring it to the middle, change the border radius from what it is to somewhere around 10, just to kind of fill it in. I'll fill the design with the green color. And in that border radius, in that frame, is where I now have the rectangle. And I'll make sure this is clipped. And once I have the rectangle, I'll change the color of this to black. And just know, by the way, I'm not calculating anything, because literally this is just a freestyle design. I didn't even know what this is before, prior to this time. I just thought to design it. So we'll bring in the design, and then we'll change the design to somewhere around 16 or 14. 14 is all right. Then we'll say debit card. We'll change the color back to black. Then within that debit card, we are going to have somewhere in the middle, we're going to have the number, right? Just to nail the design, we're going to have the MasterCard logo. So we're going to have the MasterCard logo somewhere around here, and we'll select the both and remove the fill, add a stroke to it, maybe make it like 50% or something, or 30% or 20%, and reduce the size a little bit, bring it towards the side. We'll just duplicate this. But before we duplicate, let's name our frame. I don't like naming frames, but it's all right. Add, and then we'll duplicate this frame. So once we have it in here, we'll just, oh my god, once we have it in here and it's by the side, we'll just rotate it, I think, how many degrees? 15. That's interesting. We'll duplicate this to the other side and have minus 15. Still 15 degrees. Okay, great. We'll take this to the other side. Once we have that, what's the space between these guys? What's the space? Let's take it to 6. I'm gonna say 10. Sorry, 10 is all right. So what we're not going to have is a different color, obviously. We'll just take the eyedropper and paint it this color. We'll change this color too. So now another thing we're going to have within our design is your activity section. And we would create just these bars that are below there. Your activity card here. Why do I have X lying down around here? Once we have that, we'll just take our plugin and then go to content reel, and we will go to images and paint this the male or female. Oh, let's just have female profile there. So now you might now start to think, why are they sticking out? Why are they not within the design? Obviously, we need to clip it. So once we clip it, it means that the design is going to be inside our work. So now next thing that we need to do is animate this. How do we animate this? How do we make sure that this is animated? We're going to have to create 3 duplicates because we have 3 designs here. We'll create 3 duplicate of the exact design, one and the second one. So this one will be the one in the middle. This one will go to the next design here, right here, 15 degrees, and this one will be 0. Yeah, it's 0. We'll change the degrees of this back to 0, and we'll bring it to the middle, back where it was. So wait, where was the middle that this was before? I think it was here. So back to where it was, and we'll take this back here. 16. I think this was 16 as well. 16? Oh, 10. So we'll bring this here and make sure that this is 10. Take this in the middle. Okay, great. So in this one, we'll do the same thing. 10. This is perfect. So now what we're now going to do is that we will go to our prototype section. But what we want to do is, after this is done, we want to smart animate this to this. And yeah, no, on delay. We want it to be on a delay. We don't want it to smart animate. We want it to be after a delay. And then you should smart animate to the other one. So this is what we need to have. So once I click on this, I should be brought to this page. Right. Once I click on this, I should be brought to this page on top Smart Animate. Now what we need to do is that when I'm here and I click on this card, it should bring them back here. Smart Animating on top, navigate to the other one, Smart Animate. And when I'm on this card, I should be navigated back to this page. I should be navigated back to this page. Yeah, on top, Smart Animate, all of that. So when I now restart the whole animation, it should bring me here. When I click on here and click back here, click here, it should bring me back. So basically, that's how you create a basic interaction with design on your Figma. So now in the next video, we're going to be talking about how to design for smartwatches. Anyways.